Hello, my name is Mackenzie, and today we're going to shed a little bit of light onto screen addiction. So first, we're going to start off with sharing some statistics about screen addiction, and I think that they will be quite shocking. Do your family dinners ever look a little something like this? Everybody's all together, but not spending quality time together. Everybody's involved in their own phones and their own screens, and even though we're all right next to each other, no communication is actually happening. If this is what your family dinners look like, you're not alone.
It's estimated that kids and teens between the ages of 8 and 28 spend about 44.5 hours each week in front of a digital screen. And about 23% of those kids and teens have reported that they actually feel as though they have an addiction to video games. That breaks down to about 31% of males and 13% of females.
Another statistic that might be startling is according to CNN, 77% of parents and teens have argued about smartphone usage. The average smartphone user touches their device 2,617 times a day, excluding the ones performed when the phone is locked. Heavy users, on the other hand, touch their devices 5,427 times a day.
Hey, my name's Braden. For our research, we decided to interview several people to get first-hand experiences with screen addiction. So let's jump into it.
What age do you think struggles with screen addiction the most?
I think it probably starts in adolescence, but I would say once kids and preteens, teenagers understand that you can use screens for social interaction, that perpetuates the addiction. So I would say preteens through adulthood.
Gotcha. So what is the first thing that you do when you wake up in the morning?
Drink coffee. No, actually I do. I pick up my phone and check the weather for the day.
How often do you think you pick up your phone in a single day?
I would say probably 30 to 40 times.
Did you know that the average is about 500 times per day?
No, wow, 500 times. I will say my time has increased since I started wearing a watch.
Do you find yourself looking at your phone when you're waiting somewhere?
I do, but I also try to be aware of that. So I like to observe. And since the screen time function became available on the iPhone, and I started looking at that and seeing how many times I picked up, how much I was on my phone, I try to be more aware of my surroundings. And so I try to put it away in those settings to just be more observant.
As a mother, do you think that it's hard to balance like screen times for your kids and like knowing how much is too much, or like allowing them to have it but still restricting that?
Yeah, I think it's a really hard balance, especially since people my age and we're really the first generation of parents who have had to navigate screen time. So there's not really a precedent before that. It's like you feel like you're in some big experiment, and so it really is difficult trying to find that balance of allowing it, but it not becoming a habit forming or something that you're just constantly reaching to. And kids are prone to those habits, anyway. And so, it's really hard. It's really hard.
Do you think that you would benefit from like hearing ways to combat screen times, and like do you think knowing like the statistics and knowing ways to help reduce screen times, do you think that would be useful?
Yeah, and I think it would be useful on a child's age level as well to help them understand. That's one of the things I feel like we try to do in our family is not just, no, we're not going to do screens, but try to help our kids understand what's actually happening in their brain when they're on a device, when is okay to use it, when we want to restrict it, and why we want to restrict it, so that they understand too, so it doesn't become a source of contention.
I think that probably all ages struggle with screen addiction. Probably the more free time you have, the more time you spend looking at a device. So I guess probably the younger you are, the more it's an issue.
What is the first thing you do when you wake up?
First thing I do when I wake up, I tend to grab my phone, actually. Yeah, it depends on if I have to use the restroom first, but either way, most of the time I do grab my phone and kind of check and see what all do I have going on for the day with my calendar. And yeah.
How has it been parenting whenever this new age of screens? How has that changed from the way that you were parented whenever it comes to screens?
Yeah, so when I was really young, the only time we really got to watch cartoons or any programming that we were really interested in was either late at night after supper or on Saturdays. And so I'd wake up early on Saturday morning to watch cartoons because that was the only time cartoons were on. But now cartoons are available 24/7. So I don't know how much that has really changed parenting. I think that I've been probably guilty when my son was young of handing him a phone, especially when we were in a restaurant and he is being loud, or my daughter when she was being loud. When they're little, you can hand them a phone and then they're not going to bother everybody for a little bit. So have definitely been guilty of using it as the phone as a babysitter.
How much time do you think you spend looking at a screen each week?
Oh my gosh, I spend a lot of time looking at a screen each week, partly because that's part of my job. So if I'm not video chatting with someone, that is technically, even in a meeting, I'm looking at a screen. So during the day, during an 8-hour day, I would say I probably spend 7 of those hours probably on the screen, on average. And then outside of that, at home, I'll spend another hour or 2 hours, I would say, looking at a screen.
Hey, my name is Braden. I'm 22, I'm a college student, and when thinking about screen time, I don't typically struggle with it in the same way that a lot of other people do. I don't spend a lot of time on social media, but I do tend to struggle with watching TV or spending time on YouTube. So there's some things that I've done to help me spend less time on those screens.
Hello, my name is Mackenzie. I'm 22 years old, and I can honestly say that I have struggled with screen addiction in my short lifetime. I think this is something that our society is really struggling with as a whole right now, but we have done some research and we want to tell you some ways that you can combat screen addiction and some easy quick tips to just help you live a more balanced life. So let's get right into those. Okay, so our first tip is to turn off your notifications that are not from people. So if you get a text or a call, those notifications are fine. We think that those are still good and they're important because they're how we're staying in contact with people. But your notifications that tell you somebody liked your Instagram or they tagged you in a Facebook photo, those probably aren't as important. So by just having those notifications that are directly from people, we can know that every time we get a notification and want to reach for our phone, that it's for a just cause and not just because of a little notification.
One of the first things that I started doing was removing lots of apps like Instagram or Snapchat or even YouTube from the home screen of my phone. I find that if it is there and I'll just instinctively pull out my phone, all of a sudden I'm just clicking on what's available and all of a sudden I'm disengaged from the people that are around me. And that's a way that I've really been able to disconnect from social media in some times when there's also time to be on it. Something else that I use is typing to find apps. A lot of times you can find yourself on your home screen, you see an app and you're just kind of bored and you're like, you know what, I'm just gonna click on it and get distracted there. What I'll usually do is instead go and search for that specific app. I know that there's a reason that I'm going there and a purpose that I'm trying to fulfill in using that app.
Okay, our next tip for you guys is to go grayscale on your phone. If you don't know what grayscale is, this is where you make your phone black and white. Now, you might be thinking, why would that help me combat screen time? Well, if you think about it, our apps are very colorful, and that is for a purpose. The more colorful something is, the more enticing it is to our brain. So to help you combat your screen time and make those apps seem not quite as enticing, going grayscale could be the fix that you've been looking for. Another trick we want to tell you guys about is screen time tracking. Now, basically, this is exactly what it sounds like. A lot of smartphone apps have a feature where it can tell you exactly how much time you were spending on your phone. Now, this can even dive in deeper to how much time you're spending per app, and it is really quite eye-opening whenever you start to look and see just how much time you're spending on these tiny little devices. So by just being more aware about how much time we are spending on our phones, we can help ourselves to know, all right, I've already spent 3 hours on my phone today. I probably don't need to look at Instagram for another hour.
Now for this tip, we've been focusing a lot on phones and phone usage, but this is really just a tip and trick to reduce screen time all in all, and it's as simple as standing up. When you stand up, you're not going to be likely to be looking at a screen. You're going to be looking around at your surroundings, and it's also just better for your health. Another helpful trick is to not eat in front of a screen. A lot of times families will go sit down, watch a TV show while they're eating their food. That is just another way to entice your addiction. Whenever you eat, you're going to want to have a screen in front of you, and when you watch a screen, you're going to want to eat. They're going to have a Pavlovian response on each other. So if you can separate these two aspects of your life, it will be for the better.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch our video. We hope that it was helpful and that you learned both the dangers of screen addiction, but also some helpful tips to help you combat that. So also just remember, don't let screens distract you from time with your loved ones.